Hello, beautiful people. How are you? Hope everybody's doing good. I am doing great. I just got home from the gym, so again, I'm a little sweaty, but it is quiet. Friday night, so video time. I have done a message today, done a lot of research on the message that I wanted to talk about today. So I might be looking down at my notes a little bit, or I might just get carried away and let my higher self lead. And that happens a lot, which I'm glad because I felt like I looked down and had a lot of notes in the beginning of my channel, and I no longer do that as much. So I really like that. I have progressed into not being such a note reader. Let's see, still aggressive energy out and about. So I would encourage everyone to cleanse, to do your spiritual baths, to do whatever you do to cleanse your energy, whether that be pray, meditate, light a candle, take your spiritual baths, use incense, sage, whatever. Don't let the Christian community tell you that that's demonic, because it is absolutely not. And the differences between the two are very minute if you actually look at it. And it's semantics. They all believe in a higher power, hands down. Christianity believes that God is inside of us, and I believe that Jesus, per the Bible that I've been reading a lot lately, believes in the divinity and the origin of the divine within us. So the interpretations are very frustrating as far as what I was taught growing up in church and in a Christian school, and having been made to go to a lot of churches for years, having married a pastor's son. I just don't see where they get some of these interpretations other than to just be promoting a self-serving agenda. It's to control. And so that's why the video today that I wanted to do was on fear and control and how we lived in a fear-based society. I've talked about this a little bit, but this is more geared towards Scientology and their fair game policy, and how it relates to cults and societies, communities, Freemasons, Eastern Stars, things like that. And I'll get into that deeper in a minute. But the aggressive energy that I want you to cleanse yourself from doesn't need to affect you. You don't need to be a sponge and absorb it. It is not yours. Don't take it on as if it is. It may be intended to affect you, or to rub off on you, or to be projected towards you. But it's not yours. It's not yours. It's about them. So remember that first and foremost. It is about them. Draw that line. Keep that boundary firm and tight. It has nothing to do with you. Put your blinders on. Create your own little bubble. Put your headphones in. Find you a place. Carve you out a special place that is just for you. Don't stay a hermit. Don't stay inside. It's fine to be that way, to isolate if you need to. If that's what you feel drawn and led to do, fine. But don't let those negative and aggressive energies that are theirs and not yours keep you from going out and doing the things that you love, connecting to nature, being with your family, your friends. Don't let it affect you. The videos that I watch on Fridays, let's see, the 3 for sure, the main ones that I watch on Fridays, were all had some kind of aggression from one person to another, and I thought that it was so unnecessary. But I was like, this is everywhere. This is not just in my community. This is everywhere. And so I feel like a lot of people are experiencing this, and I just want you guys to have a heads up about that and to not let it frustrate you. Don't engage in it. Don't react to it. Don't match that energy. Don't absorb it and let it bring you down. It's not yours. Just know that, okay? See, one of the videos that I watched, it happened to the MJD and the M&D. It's Martin and Daniel, the lawn care. They're in Texas, and they're the ones with the cowboy hats, father and son team. They whip out their machetes, and I just love their energy. For one, they're very thorough. They're hard workers. They tackle really hard properties, and I can tell they also follow midlife stockmen. I know I talk about them a lot, but they started to do some things like use the power brush, the power sweep brush, and use the paper lawn bags that he uses, and then they divide their properties into sections sometimes like he did. So he is very influential on other creators in that genre, and they have taken a lot of things after him, and I love it because they were already great as it is, but they saw a way to enhance what they do with taking some things in that he does, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all should inspire each other and try to be better and more comprehensive in everything that we do. So they had somebody kick them off of the property. They had spent like 6 hours there just on the sidewalk alone, which is fine because that's public property, and they cleared that for the community who needed to use that, handicap and kids and people that don't have cars that use that walking and biking as a mode of transportation. But then they have their other channel, which is MJD, which is the other brother, and then the brother and the son from the father-son duo. So the two brothers in the family have their own pressure washing channel, and there's this guy that told them to get off their property at first until they said it was free, which happens. People decline. They don't say, get off my property. But he was aggressive from the beginning, and when they finished and they got his reaction, he said, well, something like, I'm not quoting, but he said something like, not too bad for a free job, which I don't know if he was just a jerk and said that. It kind of led me to believe that that was his whole personality because of him, what he said in the beginning. But I don't know if he thought that they were looking for a tip at the end, or saying it was free just to get in there and then really expecting something on the back end. I don't know why I said it, but it was kind of aggressive and very downplaying the great job that they did and always do. Trying to think of what the other one was. Oh yeah, it was Ben from Flawless Cleaning, who is in the UK, and he had done a video on this elderly lady's cleanup that they did at her house. They put a new roof on for her because it was leaking into her kitchen, and then the second part of it was cleaning up her yard, putting a new fence in for her, and then pressure washing. And he couldn't say, because he is very distinguished young man, very hardworking. He didn't want to slander as if it isn't true, but he didn't want to disclose the reason that he had to end helping her, and it wasn't because of him. And I swear he almost cried in the video because he has such a big heart and he wanted to keep helping this lady. And someone came in and shut it down and said that they needed to get out, and it wasn't the lady. So people speculated that it was her family and that they were reacting that way because they left her in the position to be in that house with the rotting roof that was leaking into her kitchen. Like, they didn't help her, that strangers came and helped her, and I don't know if they thought it would reflect badly on them, but it says a lot about their character. It's about them. It's not about you. So do not take it personally, even though it may be disappointing, irritating, all of those things. Do not let it get you in low vibrations, and just distance yourself from it. Tune it out. Whatever you have to do, and come home and cleanse your energy, transmute it, dance, sing, be merry, whatever it is that you need to do. That's what I'm encouraging you to do with this energy, because it won't last forever. It's all about them and not you. And don't let it be any more than just a passing occurrence in your life, because that's all it has to be, is a little thing that happened in your day that you can laugh at. You look at it as entertainment, if you will. That's all I want you to do as far as acknowledging this. So moving on, I watched some videos recently on something that brought Danny Masterson. This is how things come to me. This is how I channel things. It's something that will lead me down maybe a rabbit hole, but not so much, but it'll bring my attention to something to where I'm naturally curious, and I'll look into it. And then once I do watch the video or do some research, it will open me up to something that I hadn't looked at before, a broader definition of something that I had mildly been in contact with, whatever. And so the Danny Masterson thing. It was in a video. I didn't even watch the video. It was just talking about like actors that are behind jail, and I was like, what did he go to jail for again? And so I looked it up, and then it led me to Scientology. And when I moved to California in 1998, I saw how big Scientology was out there, and having moved and being very strongly encouraged to join a church, and we visited so many. Now, we weren't going to visit Scientology, but it still made me wonder, like, what was behind it, what's the deal. And so before I had a job, and my ex-husband was in the military, I went out a lot. This was before GPS, and had no cell phone there, not for a while, not until we were about to move back do we have cell phones, but barely had the internet. But I would go out and I would just drive around. I would get lost so that I could learn the city. I would go to the public library because it was free, and I had a lot of books that I looked at about Scientology, even copied a small book so that I could take it home and have it for reference. I probably still have that somewhere at my uncle's house if he hasn't thrown my stuff away. But yeah, I was really curious about Scientology because I had heard a lot of negative things about it, and I had wondered, is this slander? Is this something that really isn't good? And so when I looked up the Danny Masterson thing, it said that he was a part of the Church of Scientology and that he had been accused of sexual assault, and that's why he is in jail, because he was convicted on, I think, 3 counts. 3 counts for sure. And there was a mistrial and a retrial and all this stuff. And eventually it took 20 years for these things to catch up to him, because the Church of Scientology had a rule that said you could not call the police or report anything against another member of the church. And so these ladies who had been sexually assaulted or hurt in some sexual way by him, they were not allowed to speak out about it, and people tried to silence them and keep them from doing it because of the church that they went to. And I was like, what? And then the more that it went on how this carried on and carried on and carried on, and it was because some judges were intimidated, like a lawyer was intimidated, and then they brought out the term fair game, which Scientology used to use. And in my research I learned it started in like 1950, and then they said that by 1968 that it had phased out. But a lot of people say that even though the term fair game has been done away with, that this is still very much a practice by the church that happens today, and it's been widely documented. It's been widely admitted by the church. Even after they stopped calling it fair game, they still, his wife, after I believe her husband's death, L. Ron Hubbard's wife, was still saying that it was okay to do and necessary to protect their freedom of religion and their intellectual property and things like that. So still being used. And they called it, they called it suppressive. This would be used against suppressive persons. So that would be anyone that spoke out against the church. They would consider them an enemy. Anyone that they had tried to get to join that didn't want to join, or anyone that joined and disagreed with them, or anyone that tried to get out, that they would use these tactics against them, considering them enemies. And that L. Ron Hubbard said that they were deserving of no amnesty at all, that basically everything went as far as the warfare on them in this realm. So this included, and it sounds familiar because a lot of people in today's society call it being targeted, being a targeted individual, gang stalking, but they call those people crazy. They diagnose them with having paranoid schizophrenia, and while it is a fine line, because not everyone that claims to be targeted is actually a targeted individual, it is something that can be diagnosed if there's no factual evidence behind it as paranoid schizophrenia. But not everyone that is being targeted and has factual evidence about being gang stalked or being a targeted individual is paranoid schizophrenic. So it could go either way. It's just what has happened to you has happened to you for a reason, and you should be able to document that and have evidence. But I think a lot of times when the evidence has been presented by said quote unquote targeted individuals, they will do like with aggression, which precipitates the behavior that they set out to document. So I used to watch this one girl who would do readings, but she claimed to be gang stalked, and she's no longer on YouTube anymore, not under the name, not her old channel anyway, but she would run up to people and she would be very confrontational, and she would be very aggressive when she approached them and told them that they were gang stalking and that it was illegal and stuff like that. And I'm not discrediting everyone's experience. I absolutely believe that you should speak up and you should tell your story. I absolutely believe that you should stand in your power. But some people that claim to be targeted are paranoid schizophrenics. Some people that are targeted and have documentation and reason behind it have a valid claim. And in that valid claim, I think it gets lost in that they want to lump all of it together. The people that do these fair game practices that no longer call it fair game, that generations have admitted to doing this, they try to lump it in with that delusion, or what did somebody call it? Defining it as a novel persecutory belief system where sufferers believe that they are being followed, watched, and harassed. And the documentation in those researchers' reports were of the evidence being aggressive and precipitating the behavior that they were trying to expose, not exposing the behavior, trying to create the behavior and back up their claim. So it's a fine line. It's very blurred. I heard somebody say today, which added to the message that I wanted to do, that he had heard that there was a fine line between love and hate, but he said there's an even finer line between delusion and actually being targeted, and that is so true. It's so true. But that is why it is used when people call these things out that are not delusional, that they try to, for one, make you paranoid. They try to make you be in fear, anxiety. They try to elicit these fear-based reactions out of you so that it's easier to say if you ever try to actually bring like stalking against someone or bring a case against someone, that, oh, it's just delusion, that they're crazy, they're paranoid, schizophrenic, they're this, they're that, they're other, to discredit them. So they know what they're doing when they do that. It has already been predetermined that if they are called out or caught in any way, that it will just be lumped in with any other delusional claim and not have credibility. So getting that out of the way, I was looking into this more, and the suppressed persons, the things that they would do against them would be harassment, punishment, restraint, even imprisonment, intimidation, harm to that person as far as physical, mental, emotional, harm to their pets, their property, their privacy, that they would use humiliation rituals and try to use embarrassing tactics in public. It said that they would start out with church members, and they would use the members, that they would also recruit private investigators. They would recruit the private investigators being former police officers or current police officers, also retired military. And if you look into the Masons, a lot of Masons are fed into by the Army, by lower local politicians. So I know that definitely came into play with my experience with it. What's up, Rick? In the small town that I went to high school in, that it's definitely lower level local politics, which it does feed into, they will be approached. They will be offered, because you can't, well, a lot of people don't serve those. City council members do not serve those terms forever. And so after that, they will be filtered into Masons while or after that they are serving those posts, and also given other posts after that in the community, because they have already kind of vetted them out. So they receive the invitation from there. So, that's how they would use a lot of, that's how they would recruit a lot of the people that would carry out these fair game practices. They would like use character assassinations, smear campaigns, private investigations. They would bring legal action, false allegations made to government agencies, make these people think that they are involved in espionage, that it was, they were spies. They were, setting them up to believe that they were doing things for good reason to people that they knew nothing about. So the smear campaigns would be used not only by the people carrying out these fair game practices, but they would be used to get the spies involved by telling them these smear things to make them think that what they were doing is for good reason, so that they would keep doing it. They would be faithful to the organization, the society, the community, the cult, which I believe Scientology is definitely a cult. And that was one of the things that I quickly became aware of when I was doing my research, like back in the late 90s, was that I was so shocked to see that I read the paper a lot. Had a subscription to the newspaper, like the actual physical paper in San Diego, so that I could learn about what was going on and learn about the community. And I would take it to work every day and I would read it there. And one of the things that I had saw were like reports of these Scientology members being kidnapped and taken away from their family, and having their family being alienated and distancing from them so that they could control them and make them think that it was for their own good and that they had to do these things. And I've seen that as a common thread in a lot of cults, being isolated or capitalizing on runaways, using that weak spot as a way to draw them in and to help them out, and to use that in a way to shape their mind and make them think that they need them and that they're loved and that they're being provided for. And I think another similarity between the Masons and Scientology is that they don't serve a God. They don't serve a God at all. And go check out the Deep End podcast that's on, it's on all the podcasting sites, but also they film it and it's on YouTube. So the Deep End, but with Taylor Welch, which I've talked about a lot, but he did one recently about Masonry and how Freemasonry will tell you that you can believe anything you want, but ultimately they will bring you over to what they want you to believe, and ultimately it is witchcraft. And I did a little short on witchcraft and spell work in general the other day, and so I wanted to expand upon that a little bit at the end part of this message as well, because that's what they use. That's the fear tactics that they use. I think in a fear-based society, they want to feed off of your emotions. And the way that they do that is not to make you happy and feed off of those emotions. They try to put you in the lower vibrations, negative energies. They want to feed off of your pain, off of your fear, off of you just being panicked, anxiety, worrying. They want you to do that. And as long as you are focused on anything that they can use to elicit those, feelings from you, those emotions from you, then there's a way to sink their claws into you, to use you, to feed off of you. That's what they're doing. They're feeding off of you. They are not connected to source. They are not connected to God. They are not embracing their divine. They have forgotten who they are. They have forgotten completely who they are and that we are all one, and not do harm to each other, but to feed off of others' energy because they're not connected to source and able in order to be that high vibrational being that you are for themselves. So they have to feed off of your energy in order to get that for themselves. The Matrix talks about being a battery too, but the NPCs, the people that aren't connected to source, that do not serve God, any kind of higher power, they have to feed off of others, and they've gotten a payoff from that. In my reading the Bible, recently, I just finished Luke, and I kind of did that out of order. So I'm going back to the Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I've started with Matthew now, even though I read Luke first, but Luke was so emotional to me because even though I've read it before, not Luke before, but I've read about, the crucifixion, reading about how Jesus just tried to spread the message of God and the divinity. He did not say you have to go to church, by the way. I know that's one of the things that not angers me, but frustrates me about the interpretations. He never said that you should go to church. He said that you should be communing with others and have a community that believes in God. But he didn't say you have to go to church. And when he referred to scriptures, he was talking about prophecy and how the people that wrote the Old Testament were prophesizing things that they had channeled from the divine, which Christians call demonic in any other reference. But in the Bible, Jesus wanted people to refer to the Old Testament because of the prophecies that were made, and that those things were true. They had received those messages from the divine, from God, and that's what he wanted them to refer to. The New Testament, I don't know about any of that. I don't know how credible that is. Jesus said nothing about it because he was referring to the Old Testament. But the devil was telling him, out in the wilderness, to worship me, and I will give you basically anything that you want. And he said, it is written that you serve God, and that's it. And he wouldn't be tempted by the devil. But so many people in these communities, these societies, are tempted by the devil because they have received a payoff. They have been bribed to do these things. They have been paid to do these things. They have been influenced to do these things, saying that it is a good thing and that it's necessary. And did you hear about this person and what they did? And they did that and that. The smear campaigns that lead them to putting their energy behind it. I don't blame all of them because some of them do not know what they do. Lord, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. That we should pray for these people instead of hating on them, because a lot of them are only doing what they're doing because they were told to do it, and for no other reason than that. They're just believing, they're having blind faith in something that the devil has initiated, and they don't even know it. So they may think that they are a Christian, that they are abiding by everything that the Bible says to do, everything that the church is telling them to do, but they're in these societies that feed their ego, that make them feel a part of a community. It makes them feel like they are being loyal to people that probably lured them in by doing good things for them and making them think that they were loved and being taken care of and nurtured in some way, being a father to them, being a brother to them, being a mentor for them, when really it was just a self-serving agenda. It was all for power and greed and jealousy and envy, and to have them recruited into these organizations made them feel like they were belonging to something, when truth be told, you don't need to belong to anything. You just need to have that direct connection to source, that Jesus said that we are the church. The church is in us, like the kingdom of God is in us. Not that you need to be in church. You are the church, is what Jesus said. So people twist that. They use that to get people in there to tithe, to get people in there to control them and to lead them, and not always in the best places. I'm not talking about all churches. I'm talking about a lot of the ones that I have seen here in the South. in Tennessee. So I don't believe that there's a religion in heaven. I really don't. And I don't believe that's what Jesus was saying at all, which is why he was persecuted, which is why he was crucified. Even the king said that he had done nothing worthy of that. And still, the people calling for it, the jealous people, the hate-filled, lower vibrational energy, parasitic people that were being fed on by parasites, that's the devil. They need to feed on other things in order to fuel themselves. And that's why he was killed. And reading that in the Bible just made me so sad because I'm not Jesus at all. But I do believe the divinity is in me, just like it was in Jesus, just like I believe that it is in all of you, because we are all one. We are not separated. Now, you may never wake up to that realization. You may never. And God bless you. I hope that you do because I'm bringing awareness to it so that I can help others to wake up and to help them by the experiences that I've had in my life that led me to waking up so that they can do it with the least amount of pain, suffering, and trauma as possible. I don't want everybody to have to go through the depths of what I've been through in my life. I don't. And reading what Jesus had to go through is just very painful because it kind of rips open some of my wounds and the things that I've had to go through, that smear campaigns, being persecuted, being hated on for no reason at all. And I haven't done anything to these people. I know in my heart I have not done anything wrong. Have I always lived my life without sin? Absolutely not. But that is why I was chosen for this. That is why I was put right where I was put, because I have done a lot of work on myself. And all of these other things that happened after that made me do even more work on myself. And it made me want to help others to get to that point so that they don't have to live their life going around that hamster wheel. There is a way off of it. There is a way out of it. But while you're doing that, the parasitic devil worshippers are going to do anything they can to sink their claws in and feed off of you. So I know when I said earlier about the fear-based society and that anything that they can use to keep you in fear, sometimes they even create situations to make you fearful if there's not anything that's existing already. But in my circumstances, the only thing, I've detached from everything, but the only string that they have other than, the aggression and, sending me negative energy and intentions, things like that, the only thing they have is my child support. And so I started receiving, I'm a month behind and I haven't paid for this month. So I'm not quite 2 months behind, but this is something that they're using against me as a fear tactic. I started receiving texts from my ex about getting it caught up, which is really ironic because he is like, when I filed for my child support, which hadn't been paid in 7 years, he was $23,000 behind. And after having paid since, I believe, January or February of last year until current, which is what I'm living off of right now because I'm not working, he's still like close to 15,000 behind, right? I didn't do the math, but that's in general 15,000 behind. I never went after him for back child support, and contrary to popular belief, I never said that I didn't want child support. Who would say that? Who would say that? And when he became delinquent on it in the beginning, I was told that I was pathetic for asking for it and that I was sad for needing it. And I was put down and berated. And I did get him to pay for daycare for a while as a replacement for it because he got fired from the job that he was at that drew the child support out of his check. And I never reported it. I never threatened him with jail. I never went to child support about arresting him. But you better bet that if I go 2 months in full without paying this, I'm already receiving messages. I received a call from the child support office today talking about I need to have the delinquent amount paid in full by the end of this month. because I know that they're going to try to have me put in jail for this. They've tried to have me put in jail for a lot of things, and it hasn't worked. So this is the only thing that they can try to induce fear for me, to try and get me worried or scared or, have anxiety about. That is the only thing that they can use, and you better bet they're going to use it, because that's all that they have. Anything else hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. So anything that they have, they're going to use, and then they will create situations to try and have a way in. So that's why I'm telling you these things about these fair game practices. Like, the child support office never contacted him about being delinquent, never sent him letters. All these things. He only changed his phone number from the one that he had since I met him in 2007, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, somewhere in there. He always had, definitely in the 7 years that he didn't pay, he had the same way to contact him. And I never, ever said, go put him in jail. So just like the things that Jesus went to, again, I'm not Jesus. I'm just using that as an example because he led by an excellent example, and I want to follow what Jesus did. I want to love them. I immediately, first of all, I've blocked my ex, because I'm not going to be open to this fear-mongering text. He doesn't call me for my son anymore. They're supposed to call me every Saturday. He's had him reject all of the visitation until we got kicked out of the program. My phone number is not supposed to be blocked in my son's phone, but it has been blocked for months now. And this came right after he started texting me on his own about TikTok accounts that we used to watch, sending me a picture of the shoes on him that I had mailed him. And right after that, I'm sure that it was found that he was communicating with me, and then I got blocked. Then the phone calls stopped because he is controlling all of this, and he can't control me through him anymore. Yes, I miss him. Yes, I love him. Yes, I would love to be in contact with him, but I'm not going to have that used as a weapon against me, much like the child support is being used as a weapon right now, because that's all that they have. And the reason I'm saying this is not to slander, because slander is what's not true. I have not made up one single thing on this channel. I stayed quiet for way too long. That's what got me into a lot of this, is being a doormat, is not speaking up about the things that him and his family have said and done. I stayed quiet for way too long when I do want you to keep your head down. I do want you to work hard. I do want your character to speak for itself. That will happen when you work hard and you stay in your own lane, but also not sharing your story and not speaking up will enable them and make them think that it's okay for them to keep doing it. And I am speaking up for myself. I am being an example to you to help you to speak up for yourselves and to cheer you on and to give you encouragement. That's what I want people to feed off of me for. I don't want them to feed off of the negative energy. I want people to feed off the positive energy, things that they don't have to do to me to get me into lower vibrations so that they could feed off of and ill gains off of that. I want people that see their potential, that love themselves, and just need a little nudge to stand up for themselves and start speaking out. I am a whistleblower. I am a truth teller. I am a light worker, and I'm going to continue to do that for me and others for the rest of my life, because I don't ever want it to happen unnecessarily for too long for anybody to have to go through. Now, I say unnecessarily because it is necessary for you to open your eyes to these things. It's necessary for you to have to go through certain things to know who is who and what their intentions are, and if they were being manipulative or abusive to you in order to get a hold on your life. That's a thing. So people need to be exposed to the wrongdoings in order to wake up to the abuse, to end the cycles. Things like that have to be seen for what they are, so that you know in your next level, as you work on yourself and you ascend, that they cannot go with you, because it's just going to be more of the same. If you let a snake go with you to the next level, it's going to be self-sabotage, because you knew who they were and you can forgive them, but they don't deserve to come with you and remain in your energy. So if you bring them with you, then it's just going to be more of the same. You're just You're going to be completing that cycle all over again, and they are going to deplete, they're going to exploit, they're going to abuse you, lie to you, steal from you in the next level, and then it will all be gone. It will all be gone, and God doesn't want to give you anything, any blessings that you can't sustain. So if you bring them, you won't be able to sustain it. So He's going to show you who they are before you get that win, before you get those blessings, before you get those gifts. So it's necessary to go through it. You can't stay blind to it forever, and I don't want you to stay in it forever. So please learn from me, and hopefully you will have to go through a little bit less of it on your own. You're definitely never alone. I love you. You've got me, you've got your spiritual team, you've got God, you've got, hopefully your foundation is God, and that's with you all the time. But me and your spiritual team, we are just the bonus. We are rolling deep together. That's what this is for. So, I see online there was a book called Scientology and Freemasonry, and it claims that Scientology is an organization that Freemasonry promotes and protects, and that it serves Masonic aims. So that, in me becoming aware of the whole fair game thing, started to see the correlation between the things that were being done by other organizations, not just Freemasons, but other demonic cults, other covens, other things that don't have good intentions. Everything is about intentions, every single thing. That's what makes it in the dark or in the light, is what are your intentions behind it? What are they based in? Are they parasitic? Are they self-serving? Are they negative? Are they trying to bring you down? Or are they trying to enlighten you? Are they trying to wake you up to what is good and how to recognize that and how to align yourself with it so that more of that comes and comes and comes, replenishes, multiplies? That's the difference. So you have to look at the root of it. There's no God in those two organizations. It could be the same for whatever. There's more communities and societies that are based in these things that don't have the same name, but they are lower levels of what the leadership of our country is serving right now. And it could be the Illuminati, it could be, Bilderberg, it could be Skull and Bones. A lot of the bloodlines originate in England. So I also saw a video on the people that are receiving therapy for a satanic ritual abuse, and there's many survivors out there that are telling their stories. There's one girl in particular, I don't remember the site. I wasn't prepared to say that, but I did want to touch on the satanic ritual abuse, because there's a lot of kids that grew up being exposed and sexually assaulted and brainwashed and abused in these satanic ritual cults, and that their communities were involved, and that a lot of times this girl in particular, her mother did not know. Her dad had the mother sleeping. He was like gaslighting her and had her sleeping in a separate part of the house, and in the other part of the house he was controlling the children or whatever he wanted to do, sometimes sharing with neighbors, because their whole community, their neighbors were involved, and that they would take them to these a lot of things would involve fire magic, and they would take them to do these rituals out in the woods. And concerning the full moon, it kind of reminds me of the time that my son went camping with his dad, and he came back talking about wanting an Aztec death whistle. And I looked those up, and I was like, oh my good, I can't, there's no words. There's no words. But these things became prevalent in his life, and so the kids would speak out. Sometimes they would be afraid to tell their mothers, sometimes their mothers wouldn't believe them, but eventually this girl and her two siblings got the attention of their mother, and only one sibling is young enough to still be with the dad, but they have filed cases. The mother lost, and they put her under a gag, much like what I'm under, that she can never talk about it. So that is why the girl was on there talking about it, because she filed her own civil case that was still in legal proceedings, and hadn't been resolved, but she wasn't under any kind of gag order. Another tactic that had been used was to force judges to withdraw, intimidate them, create honeypots where they got their hands dirty and they would have to blackmail against them, or as an attempt to throw the case in their favor. So a lot of things with the fair game practices are resonating with me as things that have happened around these societies, and the things that I have read, the things that I've been through, other people that I've talked to or seen their videos online. These are just recurring themes, things that happen. I know that the Masons are very, very prevalent in my community. I remember the girl in particular, and I am Carrie Adams on Facebook, which is my maiden name. Yeah, you can go to my Facebook, it's open. But if you go on there and look at my wedding pictures, there's one with my ex and all of the my bridesmaids, and there's one that's nuzzled up with her nose right here, and the other ones are just kind of like, they tell you to make these poses or whatever, and they told them all to like snuggle up to him. And so two of them, oh no, three of them, sorry, three of them just kind of put their head on him, and the other put her nose all the way in here. And this is the one that has a history with him after we got married, maybe before, I don't even know, I don't even care. But she has a son that is almost the same age as my oldest son, and we used to hang out a lot. Used to call her my best friend, one of them, and she took us to a Halloween event in this building that had a Masonic lodge at the top, and she took us there, one of the creepiest places I've ever been in. Couldn't get out of there fast enough, and I always wondered, like, how does she know about this? And after knowing her for years and years and years, and confronting her about she had cheated with many married men, tip to all of you: if there is a friend of yours that is openly even bragging about sometimes being involved with married men, do not let her around your husband, because he is fair game also. She is a thing. She wants to steal other women's men, and God will never send you someone else's husband. Never. That's not a thing. So that's not a divine intervention. It's just not. But yeah, I confronted her about being involved with him because she has a child that she will not reveal the father's name to, even though she would tell me about all of her escapades and all of these things. She would never tell me who the father was, but she has denied having anything to do with him, as expected. But I did tell her in our last conversation that I loved her, and I do, because I forgive them. When I got those calls today from the child support office, I immediately prayed for all of them. I want them to find their way to God, and however that has to happen, even if the truth being revealed and everything that's happened to me sheds light on what they all did in the dark, that will set them free. That truth will set them free. It will help them to hopefully awaken and remember who we are, who they are. We as a whole, we are one. I am the I am, and so are you. We are all source. We are all God. So in these things happening, hopefully it will bring them to be that catalyst that they need, to push them on their path and in their purpose, because I don't want any harm to come to them. They may have karma, which a lot of them don't believe in, or they wouldn't keep digging the holes that they're in, the pits that they've fallen in, and racking up more karma, and never raising the white flag, or, stopping to continue to do the same things over and over and over, expecting a different outcome, which is the literal definition for insanity. But it will catch up to them. Things that these people have done to others, they thought that we can smear campaign them and nothing will ever happen to us. But I guarantee you they've all received their karma, or will, and it's just a matter of when. It's not will it happen, it's when it will happen. And yeah, I don't want you guys to be blind to that stuff. But what I was going to talk about briefly that I did my short on was the magic. I know a lot of Masons if they say it's based in witchcraft, like a lot of people have referenced, and I believe that it is because of the things that I experienced at my uncle's house. Um, stealing my hairbrush, which curly hair, you don't use a hairbrush. It was used for my son. So it wasn't my hair, but they definitely put something in my shampoo or conditioner like Nair because my hair started falling out. Um, did a lot of things with trying to get my sanitary items that had, my blood on it. They did jar spells. I saw lots of the jars laying around. He even burnt the plungers so that I couldn't unclog the toilets anymore because he didn't want me to flush anything at all because they were trying to go up in my trash can and retrieve them when I was no longer allowed to flush them. And they admitted that. I caught his girlfriend trying to do that. So I knew that witchcraft was involved, but they use it on a lot of people that they throw this confusion at, that they throw these fear tactics at, that they try to get in these lower vibrational frequencies in order for this to work. Now, they don't realize because their ego has been inflated with the success rate. They think that the things that they've done that have been successful are because they are all powerful in their ways of magic, but it really is only successful because of your energy. You have to be in those low vibrational states and give your power away to them. It is all because you are giving your power away and you are letting them in with these fear-based tactics. So it's putting you in these low vibrations, which make you more susceptible to these things working. And that is why they thought that they thought that the things that they were working were always going to work. But just because you do these things to individuals doesn't mean that they're going to absorb it. Like I'm telling you not to absorb these energies that are around you now. It doesn't mean that these people are going to be paranoid. They're definitely not all schizophrenic, and you're not going to make them schizophrenic. You're not going to turn them into what you want them to be in order for them to give up on themselves and what you do be successful. That's not 100% of the time. And they have to run into someone or many that it doesn't work on before everything collapses, before that house of cards, those cults, those covens, those societies that were built around the success of these tactics that are being used working. That's what they're built upon. And when they come across someone who doesn't absorb it, who has self-confidence, who knows their self-worth, that loves themselves, like I'm trying to help all of you to be, it can't find its way in. And then they get stonewalled and then they're befuddled because they're like, well, it worked on everybody else. It's not going to work on everybody because not everybody is going to believe you, is going to be scared of you, is going to run or turn to drugs or whatever destructive path with whatever band-aids and whatever vices that you think they're going to run to, even if they use those things in the past. It doesn't mean that they're going to go back to them. It doesn't mean that they're going to come running back to you groveling because God is showing them something. They are going to eventually wake up and get out of that cycle and know that what they want for themselves and that that's not it. They're going to put their blinders on. They're going to put their headphones in. They're going to find safe spaces to exist in away from these things so that it doesn't affect them the way that you want it to in order to get them in the space where your magic works. That's that whole agenda has to work. You have to be able to get them there in order for what you want to do to be successful. And that's the only reason that you feel like you are some priest, some dark priest, you are a magician of the dark arts, that you are a high-ranking witch. It's because the tactics, the fear tactics, the smear campaigns, the harassment, all of the things that are used in the fair game, or any of the things that are used with targeted individuals, the things that have been done to them have worked. They have let it in. They've absorbed it. And they have given it power over them by giving their power away and lowering their vibrations and believed it. That's how anything works. You have to believe it. That's why faith works with so many people, because they believe that. I believe with everything that I am taken care of, that I have everything that I need, that in this moment, right now, I am love. And I love everyone. And that's all that matters to me. None of that stuff can penetrate my psyche. And that's what it takes for all of those things to be successful. They have to be able to penetrate your aura, your force field, to get into your head, your psyche, to get into your heart, to get you to be disheartened, to be hopeless, to be depressed. They need to be able to penetrate all of that for what they're throwing at you to work. And if it doesn't, they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. And this is why I don't document any targeting other than, I have put the interviews and phone conversations and things like that I have recorded online. I will save that for court. I will save that for later. I'm gagged. I can't put it on the internet right now, but I do not document any kind of fair game tactics against me, because I don't want to focus on what I want to grow. And if you focus on it, it will grow. So no offense to the targeted individual community. I have been told by people to document and put everything out in there and call them out by name and show their plates and all this stuff. But I don't want that to grow. In order to be not penetratable, to be unfuckwittable by those tactics, you have to walk in your purpose. You have to walk on your path. Part of that is just believing, having your faith. So if you're surrendering to God, your purpose, your path, allowing divine to guide you via intuition and discernment, there is no fear. There is no fear. So all of those things will not work on you, because you have already shut it out with your faith, with your belief that you are right where you're supposed to be, right when you are supposed to be there. There are no mistakes, coincidences, or accidents, that everything is happening according to God's divine plan in his divine timing for your life that has been co-created before you ever incarnated into this existence. So if you believe all of that and you have surrendered to the flow of all of that, anything that is thrown at you, you give it up to God and let him handle that for you, because vengeance is not yours. There's no reason for any fear, anxiety. That's why I say you are already free. The only way that you are not free is if you let someone, allow them to take your permission away and not give yourself permission to wake up to that fact, to that realization that we were always free. We were just taught and conditioned and indoctrinated to believe all of these other things to keep us in fear so that we can be controlled. Point blank period. I love you. This has been long. God loves you. You're never alone. I'll talk to you later. Bye.